All right, here's another video generated from a comment from Sharper Pen Image Consulting. I find your videos hilarious and dark, even the funnier that nobody cares. It's comments like this, and of course it's much longer than that, but I don't want to go into it that in depth. But when you look at the way that things are, you think about how the Nintendo Switch actually got pushed back on the date that it's supposed to come out because of tariffs, and you question the reality of your own world where every morning you open your eyes and you expect the world to be different, right? A place that's actually going to let you just leave you alone, to be your own person. A world in which you can go to work, do your 8 hours, plan vacations, and spend your free time doing whatever it is you want, whether it's looking at the hub, drawing, playing video games, or doing something. We put in our time at our evil corpse, where whatever you're doing, delivering pizzas, maybe you're shaking your booty on a stage for money. Who knows? Maybe you're an OnlyFans girl. But there should be a limit, a limit to how much the corporations are allowed. The same way I believe that there should be a maximum wage, there should be a maximum hours worked per week. And this is true for some industries like truck drivers. There's only so many hours they're allowed to work per week, and then after that, they're not allowed to work because it's unsafe. I think it's unsafe for the proletariat to have to work more than 40 hours. I think that's been that way for a long time. Because once you start accepting the fact that things are this bad, it means that you're overworked and you're not making good choices. Waking up and accepting the world that we live in is not a good choice. It's a person that's broken down, a person that accepts the scraps that we get every single day, as being all that we can have in life. And I don't accept that reality. I don't believe that this is a reality that people should come to believe is real. I think that our current lives as poor people need to be transformed. If we live in the richest world, the richest country in the world, then we need to start acting like it. There needs to be more universal stuff: universal education, universal rent, universal food, universal healthcare, and universal mandatory time off per year. That's equivalent to 2 to 3 months per year where the proletariat doesn't have to work. I'm not saying all at once, but they shouldn't be able to steal your life away to generate income and then give you back the hope and dreams that someday you'll have that white house, or that house with the white picket fence, and you'll have your 2.5 children and your wife, and everything's going to be hunky dory. Because another thing that's become a luxury of the rich is relationship stability. If there's one thing that's going to cause cracks in any relationship, it's going to be financial problems. Because one person's going to look at the other person and feel like they're not pulling their weight, and then say, you know what, it's not worth it. And then they're going to walk away. But with that said, let's get into our monologue and we'll hit our normal talking points. They told us if we worked hard and followed the rules, we'd make it. But all I've made is anxiety, debt, and a LinkedIn profile no one looks at. The truth is, this country runs on selling fantasies to desperate people, while the rich cash in on our delusion. We're not chasing dreams, we're running in circles, hoping the next hustle will finally set us up and set us free. But deep down, we all know the system isn't broken. It was built like this. Now, imagine you're creating a new country and you're a wealthy European person that just got here. It's going to be a little expensive to round up people that look like you. So instead, you have lots and lots of hard work to do, and there's not a whole lot. There isn't a LinkedIn or an Indeed when the original settlers came to America. These people either had to do it themselves or find a group of people that would work for what they could afford to pay them. Nothing. Is that any different in the country that we currently live in? You're looking around for the most desperate human beings humanly possible. You don't want to give them health care. You don't want to pay them a living wage. In fact, you don't want to pay them at all. And there sits tens of millions of proletariat that are sitting on their hands needing food and shelter. Uh-oh, I think I just found a group that's going to build billions for the elites. Yes, it's poor people. When it comes to building things and making certain that society functions as it is meant to for a certain group of people, we're the deer in the headlights and we can't get out of the way. Talking point number one. From childhood, we're taught a fairy tale. Work hard, stay in school, and you'll succeed. But this dream is mass marketed to keep you grinding, not to guarantee results. The real currency here isn't dollars, it's hope. They sell it to you every day. Oh my gosh, I really felt the stay in school and mass marketing because the stay in school message, you get it from the second you go into kindergarten. And they pretty much tell you that if you don't go to college, you will become a loser. Now we have tens of millions of dollars worth of student loan debt and tens of millions of losers all wondering where things went wrong. School was supposed to be the great equalizer, to give us a chance at comfort, to give us a chance at stability, to give us a chance at being educated. And yet, what was it? It was a fantasy. It was a fairy tale that they used to sell us corporate education. And that's not just the universities and colleges, it's all forms of education. After you get out of high school, you have to ask yourself, well, what am I going to do? Sure, you can do nails, you can do hair, but there is limited job growth in those industries. If you go into a trade, unless you reach the tippy top of the trade, the second you join the trade, you're going to spend the first 10 years of your life working very hard for very small amounts of money. And I think that's the true system as it was meant to be. Lots of hard work, very little actual money. Because the money just gets siphoned up to the top. As we all sit around waiting for that trickle down economics, we look up at the elites, we stick our tongues out, you put your hand out, you wait for it, you keep working really hard, you keep working your 40 hours, and yet nothing's happening. Your life isn't getting better. I mean, from when I was a teenager to now, my life hasn't gotten any better. Like, sure, there were points in my life as a kid, as a young kid under 10 years old, in which we had to live in apartments, but that was never permanent. The apartment was temporary housing between moving from house to house. I mean, I moved into at least 4 or 5 houses when I was a kid. And so we did live, we stayed in apartments, but they were always a stopgap to housing. Now, the apartment, especially the rundown piece of crap apartment, like where I live right now, where the power can't even stay on for a couple of hours without going out, this has become more permanent. And I feel like this is an analogy for everything else in life. We no longer have careers, we no longer have aspirations to reach anything. We're all just moving around, and the apartment buildings, the low income apartment buildings that have become America's mainstay of jobs. Every job in America is McDonald's. Every day we show up, and the dignity of work is long gone. And we all come in to theme days, right? You show up at work and it's funny hat day, or it's country day, or it's sports day, or it's, for some reason, when I worked at Insight, you could pay to wear yoga pants as a girl, or you could pay to wear shorts as a man. You had to pay in order to be able to come to work and not have to wear dress clothes. If that's not the most diabolical thing you've ever heard, it's ridiculous. Or you're allowed to wear you're allowed to wear a t-shirt on Friday as long as you bought it from the company store. And don't get me started on the in-house monopoly money that you can use at the commissary to buy bricks of ramen. Talking point number 2. Struggling financially, burnt out, can't afford rent with a full-time job? That's not a you problem. That's a rigged system. But instead of fixing it, society tells you to wake up earlier, hustle harder, and manifest. It's a gaslight. It's gaslighting in 4K. I would up it to say it's gaslighting in 8K. Why stop at 4K? Because that's what life is really like for people. Uh, you will solve your problems by just getting up earlier. You will solve your problems by working harder at your second job while you're showing up to your first job looking like some sort of zombie from The Walking Dead. I mean, I've seen some of the office workers that they go straight to delivering for Amazon Flex as soon as they get off the clock. In fact, they're itching to get off the clock at their first job to go work at their second job because they really need the money, or the fleet of Uber drivers that we have. And you just like, how many Uber drivers can a society really stand to employ? Like, how many people don't have their own cars that need an Uber? It's just, I think everything in our society is super saturated by the desperation of the people at the bottom. If you're desperate, it's really what it comes down to. Desperation is definitely in our water, in the air we breathe, every part of our life. Even at night when you're trying to go to sleep, I desperately try to go to bed as early as I can the night before. But your problems, your financial problems, your emotional problems, your relationship problems, well, they need your attention too. Whether you like it or not, things are always going to be rough for the proletariat. Mental stability and stability in general is not good for a system that thrives on chaos, despair, and unreasonable demands of your time. Talking point number 3. The ultra rich depend on millions of people chasing the illusion of making it. It's how they stay rich. Every one in a million success story props up the lie that you might be next. So you stay obedient, desperate, and too tired to question anything. This reminds me of my freshman year at Arizona State University, where when you moved around from class to class, especially in the morning, the early morning classes, the 8 a.m. or the 7 o'clock classes, you would go out there and you would march on Palm Walk with tens of thousands of other students who were given the same lie: go to school, work hard. And they were all there for the same reason. Their parents, society, their teachers, everyone told them that they needed to be there. But look how many people were there. Tens of thousands on any given day. There could have been between 60 and 80,000 students all doing the same thing for a very small number of good jobs in this society. In fact, most of these students, I'm sure that if we went back and we checked at how well most of these college students did over their entire careers, most of them failed. Nearly all of them would fail. Because you're talking about 1 in 100 people who becomes financially well off. 1 in 1,000 reaches being actually wealthy. And the bottom 99%, well, they're probably living here with me in this apartment complex, which is an abysmal point to spending all that time trying to make yourself successful. Because obedient, desperate, tired, that doesn't sound like a society that's going places with more successful people. It's a society that only encourages a certain group to be wealthy. And I was talking to this girl a few hours ago who told me about how entitled some of the sorority girls that came in to her workplace are. They are not people that needed to build skills. And that's the biggest difference between men and women is that at least poor women can that are semi attractive can get online, show some skin, and reach some level of success. But if you're a poor, ugly man who's never had a real relationship in his life, good luck even talking to a woman. In fact, this was something that came up in conversation. They apparently gave their phone number to one of their neighbors in their apartment complex, and he started messaging them about going out and to eat or going out for ice cream or or going out to do something. And they're like, we didn't understand he was being so weird. And I hear that from women all the time. It's like sometimes they'll talk to a man for the first time who hasn't talked to a woman in years. And they get overstimulated in their pants, in their heads. They don't know what to do. My Gen Z's like that. Any woman that looks in his general direction makes him excited. You can almost see him, hip thrusting just because a woman acknowledged him. And these girls kept asking him, it's like, why are men like that? Because no one tells men how to behave. We spend most of our lives alone. We don't really interact with the opposite sex. And when that actually happens, we don't know what to do. I mean, we might as well just accidentally explode in our pants at that point because we just don't have that interaction. The same thing can be said with touching good jobs. For as long as I've been alive, I can't say that I've ever had a good job. Every job has been something I really didn't like. I didn't like anything about it. I didn't like the hours. I didn't like the pay. I didn't like the people. But that's what I'm allowed to live. That's where I'm allowed to live. I don't have access to high paying jobs or jobs with incredible growth opportunity. I don't have access to a job with a pension or that has a career that has any sort of long term benefits for me. So when we, as the proletariat, don't even know what those jobs look like, because the most, for large chunks of our lives, we're going to live down here at the bottom. And it's the only way we know how to live. Even if we saw opportunity, we wouldn't know what to do with it. Like with most men with Susie Rottencrotch. Susie may assume the position, pull down her pants, but the vast majority of men, especially the ones that dropped out of workplace participation, they're going to look at the pink taco and ask, so where's your wang? And she's going to look at you like, what? You don't know what to do? And then just walk away. It happens. It's a terrible example. I hate that I included it, but it's there. It's now permanent. It's part of the internet. Final talking point. If people actually paused and said, this makes no sense, this whole system would collapse. That's why you're bombarded with distractions, self blame, survival mode, hustle culture, because the second you wake up, they lose their power. If tomorrow morning, by some incredible miracle, we were hit by the meteor that I've been waiting for several years now, and at that moment that the meteor destroyed the earth and people in the proletariat woke up and said, oh my God, this is what it's like to be free, truly free. No work, no earth, no nothing, no Susie, there's nothing. You're just free. Your energy's out floating around in the universe. That's the closest to freedom that the proletariat will ever get, is the meteorite 2025. Every night that I walk out of my apartment, I look out into the sky, I'm scanning space to see where the meteor's at, because there is no freedom here. There's just more despair. There's just more invisible chains. There's nothing here but pain and suffering. And that's a hard thing to understand, is that all that's here is more pain and suffering. I mean, I made an entire series before my channel got demonetized, a Freudian slip, on is Earth a slave planet? And if the only chance of freedom we have is a giant meteor, I think that question answers itself because there is no freedom here for people that were not born rich.